3.3 The Dark Forces, or Demons. Demon is a term that goes way back in time, and something that everybody is familiar with to one degree or another. The Judeo-Christian religions are of course clear as of what they are, Satan's creations. These very dark forces are by many considered the most troublesome of them all. People often rightly indicate when a person is prone to obsessive, destructive and very dark and evil acts, that he or she is possessed by a demon. This dark side influence has been acknowledged not only by the Judeo-Christian religions, but by all religions, although they are known under different names. Figure 3.7. The classic look of a demon. This is supposedly a photo taken of a real demon, which appeared on the photo and wasn't discovered until after the film was developed. It was allegedly not visible when the photo was taken. I have no way of knowing if this is a hoax or not, but the photo is intriguing. Click on the picture to enlarge. In these current days, which we call the end times, non-physical entities are entering our realms en masse. Some are here to help, while others are here to feed from our energies. In the background, human elite and hybrids are performing dark rituals to call up other dimensional entities, and some groups are even opening up portals to other, lower dimensions to let demons and dark forces in. And what are demons? Are they aliens? I would not personally categorize them as aliens or ets. They exist in the lower astral planes around Earth, but can move into our dimension if called upon, and can stay here if they attach to human bodies. Just as certain ets, demons feed from fear, blood, and allegedly, flesh as well, although these reports are rarer. I don't know if they exist elsewhere in the universe, but I would be utterly surprised if they didn't. They are low-frequency entities, vampires that feed on energy. Where they basically came from, I don't know for sure, although, like I said, the Bible has one explanation for it. But if they are Satan's servants, then we have to define Satan, which we are going to do in a later paper. When do demons show up? Certainly on battlefields. That has been proven over and over by soldiers in present and ancient times, who saw these entities, both in the middle of a battle and in the aftermath amongst the hundreds of dead and wounded soldiers. It's very important that we humans stop participating in war. Many a good, young soldier has lost their life in battle for no good reason. Even if it on the surface looks like our soldiers are defending our nation, we are fighting the wars of the elite. The super rich, whose children rarely have to go to war, unless their parents want to punish them for being lazy or want them to become men. And behind war and general disaster, we have interdimensional beings who pull the strings. The common denominator is that they always use humans as cannon fodder, and we fall into their trap every time. Still so after all these millennia, it's time to learn our lesson. Laying down the sword and walk away is another sign of spiritual maturity. War is ignorance. If you meet a person who is obviously possessed by an evil entity, it's not wise to step forward and tell them they're possessed. If you do, you will most likely talk to the entity and not the person you are trying to help. If it's a good friend, I would sit down and talk to them, calmly and with a lot of love. When the entity starts speaking, either ignore him and continue speaking to the real person, or tell the entity that you know that it is not the person who owns the body that you're talking to, and that you don't want to talk to it, but to the real person. Then you continue talking directly to your friend and ignore the entity after that. You can't, and I repeat, you can't argue with the entity. It can be right out dangerous, but best scenario is that it will not change anything to the better, because the attached entity won't change. Then, when the real person realizes he or she is possessed, they may want to do something about it, either try on their own, which may be difficult, or actually go see an exorcist. Sometimes you can see if a person is possessed by looking into their eyes. You can see the entity in there. If you're aware enough, you can even see your own entity possession by looking in the mirror, if you have entity attachments. Don't run to the mirror and imagine things just because of this, though, because there has to be a reason why you look yourself in the mirror for this purpose in the first place. You need to have the signs. Some of these signs are when a person says, for example, I don't know what ran into me, I don't know what made me do it, I don't know what came over me, or I don't know what possessed me, on a more or less regular basis. 5. You get the picture. It's not always the case, though, because people have a tendency to repeat what other people have said before them to describe a situation, but if a person saying something to this effect, if not possessed themselves, may know someone who is, from where they heard these expressions in the first place.